Good morning, everyone, and happy Thursday. The market is definitely sliding back down so far. Commodities are back on the rise, at least this morning. Gold's rising a little bit. Oil, wheat, all those things are definitely popping up just a little bit this morning. Basically, the CPI report came in at about expectations. It was a little bit higher than the Dow Jones estimate. So the CPI report came in at 7.9%, and Dow Jones had it at 7.8%. So it was basically at expectations, but still, this 7.9% level is a 40-year high. So that is pretty crazy. And honestly, it's probably only going to get worse next month with all the crazy stuff that we had going on between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah, exactly. I would not be surprised if it ended up getting even worse. And, I know that these numbers are pretty big for the Feds, Mike, and I know the Feds are going to be meeting next week. And with this coming in a little bit higher than expectations, I wonder if they will maybe start to implement or start to use some of their tools to help bring down inflation a little bit quicker. I know that they are expected to announce a rate increase at this next meeting. So hopefully we see the market react well to that, Mike. Like you mentioned, so far today, the SPY's kind of dipping back down. So hopefully we see a nice recovery pretty soon. And next week, those FOMC meetings are going to be so crucial for the markets. If people are looking so much at this data, obviously the Feds are going to be looking at it in a very strategic way.
Yeah, very true. And just like you said, Tom, the Fed is expected to have their rate hike. So, that will be big. The market's already struggling as it is. How is TLT doing on like a daily chart? It's pretty rough.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of dipping back down here, Mike. I know that for a while last year, this TLT was recovering up and just staying within a range up there, but we started really falling off. And at least today, we're almost breaking down to new lows. I know that at least on the chart here, there's a low of the past couple months right around 134.50. If we could break below that, it's not going to be good for TLT. I know we previously got to like 133 back there in the past. So we're definitely approaching those lows, Mike. And with the prospect of rates going up, it seems like TLT just keeps falling off.
True that. And then, Tom, let's take a look at Amazon really quickly. So this one announced a 20-for-1 stock split and a $10 billion share buyback program. So that's pretty big. Amazon, I know a lot of people have been watching this one not only over this past year, Tom, but for years they've been waiting for this one to finally do a split, and looks like it's finally coming.
Yeah, it is. I know Jeff Bezos recently, I forgot exactly what he's doing, but I know he's stepping down as CEO. I think he's still on the board, though. But still, though, I know a lot of people said that once he got out of there, that it could end up, that Amazon could end up doing a split like that. And it's interesting to see that they are doing it now that he's gone. I know that last year, a lot of people were kind of speculating on that, Mike. So it's very interesting to see him come out with that. And in my opinion, it's about time. They've been a high-leveled stock for a long time. Even back in 2015, they were still trading for like $400, almost $500 there. So that's still pretty big considering, that was like 5 or 6 years ago, almost 7 years at this point.
Yeah, that is true. And Amazon is one of those companies that is definitely, or at least their stock has been stagnant for at least a year now. Like other companies like Apple and Microsoft were higher. They're basically at all-time highs right before this recent dip happened, but Amazon was one of them that was definitely lagging behind a little bit. So hopefully Amazon, or this split, can bring in some more trading activity with Amazon. With their share price being 20 times lower than what it is now, I feel like that'll give a lot of people more opportunity to trade Amazon's options. With Amazon right now, if you wanted to buy an at-the-money call that expires in April, you're going to pay about like $12,000 for that, which is insane. So hopefully, obviously the options will be cheaper and it'll just give people more opportunity.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And for that, to see them have a low stock price, Mike, that's going to blow my mind because it's almost like ever since I've been trading, Amazon has been known to be a super expensive stock in the market. So it's going to be nice to see them trading at a lower value. And hey, if I take 2,900 Mike, divided by 20, that means they'll end up, if, like let's say that they stay around 2,900, at the time of the split, they'll end up going down to around $145 a share. So that's pretty good, Mike. I know that, there's a lot of stocks around that price, and, obviously traders will be flowing in my opinion. I think that'll be really good for them. Like you said, it's just going to open up the opportunity for so many more buyers to come in. And I feel like, Mike, that obviously buyers could come in now because they have the fractional shares where you can buy Amazon stock like right now at a lower price. But the thing is, I feel like a lot of traders just don't use that.
Yeah, I know. Oh, gosh. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. Like you said, it's going to be kind of weird seeing Amazon in the 100. So we'll see. But Tom, looking at the market so far today, it's not looking too good. It's definitely in the red. The SPY is down a little bit, over 1%. We are bouncing off this $422 support level. It's not a terrible day so far, but it's definitely not the best.
Yeah, I think it looks decent. I mean, it's not the worst, not the best. Like you said, just kind of falling off. Little stagnant, I'd say, this morning. Like at market open, we haven't seen like a big pop up or down yet. I know over the past couple of days, it's been pretty volatile around market open. So maybe we'll start to see some more movement here pretty soon. But I will say there's a decent support there around 422, Mike. And if we do keep holding this, I think it might make for a pretty nice uptrend today. But, if we do end up falling below 422, I'm not sure. The SPY could end up selling off. But I'm really going to be keeping my eyes on those headlines, Mike, because I feel like that we might see some more Russian stuff come across the board over the next couple days.
Yeah, true that. RSX is still halted, I believe. Yeah, it is. All right, never mind. I was going to take a look at that, but who knows if this one will ever even reopen. I was actually chatting with someone the other day, and this one might never even reopen.
Yeah, I hope it comes back, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. I know that we've been boycotting a lot of Russian companies. Our companies have been pulling out of Russia and stuff like that as well. And I even saw a report this morning, Mike, that Goldman Sachs actually just stopped business in Russia, and they're the first Wall Street bank to do so. So that's pretty big, and that just goes to show you how much stuff is going on with Russia regarding companies and the boycotting of them. So it's insane to see how even like McDonald's shut down 850 restaurants temporarily. Like that's just almost mind-blowing in my opinion, Mike. Like 850 restaurants, could you imagine being like some of those workers over there? You'd be pretty angry right now.
Yeah, that's true. And I also think I saw it was on CNBC by McDonald's shutting those restaurants down. I think it said it would cost McDonald's around $50 million a month just to do that, which honestly is a little low. Like I was expecting it to be a lot higher, but I'm going to have to reread that article.
Yeah, I guess that must just be because of their profits. It must cost a lot, obviously, to run the restaurants. But yeah, I mean, still $50 million a month is still no slouch. But I definitely get what you mean for a company that's worth billions of dollars. It's obviously like nothing. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's why a lot of these companies are doing this, Mike, because it's honestly, that doesn't sound too bad. So if you could do that, and then let's say, let's say McDonald's didn't shut down their restaurants there, they might take some flack for that. I was seeing some articles come out on CNBC before they shut the restaurants down, kind of hitting them for not doing it yet. So, maybe that's a good thing they did it. Maybe some investors would start shorting it, but either way, the stock isn't reacting well. Obviously McDonald's keeps falling down here.
True. So yeah, the CNBC article says that it will cost McDonald's $50 million a month, but it will also keep paying its employees and other business costs. So that's interesting. It's like they're continuing to pay their employees. It sounds like they're going to continue to pay rent. I mean, they said other business costs, but they're just not going to be open. So I don't know.
What's the point of that?
I don't know. That's weird. I don't know.
It's like you guys can't eat our food, but we're gonna pay you.
Yeah, yeah, it is kind of weird. Like a lot of these other companies are just like straight up like leaving Russia or like doing things to like at least make Russia like feel the impact. But like if McDonald's is gonna keep paying all of its costs, it's like they're still paying everything. They're just not bringing anything in. So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, it would almost be better for them to stay open because then they could take money out of Russia. But right. I don't know. Either way, I mean, I guess it's good for them because if they didn't do it, who knows? The news companies might really hit them pretty hard. I know sometimes we can see some pretty gruesome headlines for some companies whenever they don't do like what the public wants. And it's not just McDonald's, though. I will say we've been seeing a lot of companies take things out of there. I've even seen reports that AMD and Intel had stopped selling chips to Russia a couple weeks ago. So even they've done it. And then Visa and MasterCard recently stopped those credit card transactions there. And to me, Mike, those credit card transactions are going to be huge because we all know how much Visa and MasterCard are used throughout the world.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we have Peter saying, what do you think of BABA at its current price? Would you be a buyer? Yes, I am a buyer. BABA just keeps getting destroyed. It's down 8% today. That's actually huge. I am a buyer at this current price. It's a longer term play. Their fundamentals are amazing. The main risk with this one is, of course, increased tensions between U.S. and China. The only, another risk is if Alibaba is lying about their numbers. But then again, that's just a risk that I'm willing to take at this current price. Like, if Baba was at $250, I would not be a buyer of it. But with its current price, I am. It's just one of my longer term plays. It's definitely not my largest holding by any means.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty good for the long term. And my main concern in the short term, Mike, is, we're seeing Russia go over there and invade Ukraine. I know people have been really talking a lot lately about China possibly going into Taiwan. And if that does happen, these China stocks are probably going to get destroyed. So that's my only fear, Mike, is that China does something like that. Like you mentioned, it'll obviously increase the tensions with the U.S. So you kind of hit on that there. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely the big risk to me, Mike. And I like Baba for the long term. It's just, to me, it's like, I just don't know if it's worth the risk or not, but I definitely like it. I like the company, and I'm definitely looking to buy some down here at the lows. And I was eyeing them up a lot around $100, and we just keep falling lower. So I'll definitely have it on my radar, and I'm going to probably grab some over the next year at some point.
Yep. Alrighty. So, yeah, I mean, speaking of some of these like tech plays, we have Nvidia actually breaking their lows right now. Same with AMD, like it lows for the day.
Yeah, look at that. They're actually starting to I like to call this setup like sliding off. I just feel like they broke below that low of yesterday. They came back up, kind of confirmed off of it. And now they're sliding back off to the downside with Nvidia right below 225. We have AMD. Yeah, wow, AMD's falling like right below 108 there. So pretty big drops out of these, Mike. And I will say with AMD falling like this, just the way it's setting up here, they are approaching a support from yesterday right around like 106.75. But I would say it honestly looks like AMD might go down and try to retest 104 today. I think that would make for some good movement.
Yeah, it's been pretty volatile lately. So good stuff there. We have Michael saying, hey guys, I asked you about SCO yesterday, the inverse oil, and you guys were talking about it being leveraged. Let's say I bought shares at $6 and then it runs up to $20 and I sell. Wouldn't I still make $14 a share? I tried to research and still confused by the description of the leverage. So Hunter actually answered this question in an awesome way. So thank you, Hunter. Shout out to you. But yeah, you would still make $14 a share. If you buy it at $6 and you sell at $20, you make $14 a share. The leverage only comes in with like the price movement, basically. So for example, let's say, I don't know the specifics of SCO, but Tom, can we pull up the SPY really quickly? Because I just want to give them a quick example. So if we look at the SPY, this is the S&P 500. It is down around 1%. So now let's check out SPXS. This is an inverse leveraged ETF. The SPY is down, 1.1%, but the SPX is down, it's up 3.5%. So basically, the SPXS does the opposite of what the SPY does, and it's amplified by 3. So basically, the ETF is just the one that you're looking at moves more than the spot price of oil, and then it is inverse as well. So the leverage just comes in because you're going to have bigger moves. Like the same thing with the SPY. That thing was down 1%, but SPXS is up 3%. So the leverage comes in with the amplified moves, and then the decay happens over time slowly because of that leverage. But Yeah.
Yeah, the decay in the longer term is really what I don't like about these stocks. I think they're great to play in the short term, but yeah, if the stock did go from, 6 all the way up to $20, you would definitely still make your $14 per share. Just keep in mind that, that would be a pretty crazy move for oil to fall down that much that it would go up to 20. But, hey, with everything going on with oil, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it did, Mike. But in the end, though, it's just that's going to be a pretty risky play. I will say SCO and these leveraged ETFs always carry some type of risk with them, and they can be good to play in the short term, obviously, but with them being leveraged, they always have some type of risk, especially if you're going to hold them. So always keep that in mind. But as far as like the stock going up, you'll still make the same, just like any other stock. Like if this stock goes from $6 to $7 and you hold 100 shares, you'll make $100 there. So you'll still make the same amount. It's just like Mike was explaining with the leverage. It's only used to calculate the actual stock price compared to oil. That's really all it is.
All right, and then we have Kid saying ASAN seems like it had good earnings and owner bought a crap load. What do you think? It tanked. So yeah, Asana is getting smacked today. It's down over 20%. The CEO of Asana, Dustin Moskovitz, co-founder of Facebook, put over $1 billion of his own money into this stock, and he's been buying the dip so much lately, the stock just keeps on falling. Their earnings were decent, but their, I guess you can say, guidance for the future came in below expectations. So, basically they did good this quarter. They did good over the past year, but they're not expecting to do as good over the next quarter and next year as everyone was expecting. And that's why the stock is falling right now. I do own some Asana for the long term, mainly due to the, I guess you could say, Dustin Moskovitz's buying patterns. It's very, very, very rare that you see someone, especially like the CEO of the company, put that much money into their own stock. Like, that is a giant amount of confidence. And so I do have it for the long term. Short term, as we can see, it's been pretty rough though.
Yeah, it's been brutal. It just continues to go lower and lower. And Mike, I've been seeing a lot of insiders buying stocks lately, like whether it's Nancy Pelosi or whether it's Moskovitz or anybody. I know Pelosi's not an insider, but she's in Congress. I feel like whenever we see these big names buy lately, we've been seeing the stocks like go in the opposite direction, Mike. Like, I know Moskovitz has been, obviously dumping a lot of money in, and we see Asana go down, which, that's obviously, it's not going to hurt him too bad. He's just going to continue to hold them. But, it's strange to see, like for example, we were looking at MU a lot whenever Pelosi was getting in, and then the thing just starts tanking off the table. Same thing with Matterport, same thing with Unity. I mean, it just seems like everything that we've seen lately just goes the opposite of like what these insiders are doing. Now, I know that doesn't happen all the time, but it's definitely interesting to see it happening right now.
Yeah, I would say it's mainly due to like the market, because like I'm sure you can look at anything that anyone has really played to the upside, whether it's like an insider, analyst, hedge fund, really anything, because I just feel like, since the market fell off so much lately, that I know what you mean, and it kind of feels like that. What was I going to say? Just one thing to really keep in mind, though, whether we're looking at, Dustin Moskovitz's trades with Asana or, a different hedge fund's share position, a lot of these people are buying these stocks and holding them for the long term. So, if we're being honest, like Asana can, drop down to 20. Maybe it drops down to 15, and Dustin will be still totally fine, because he's looking at this for like a 5 to 10 year play, So like, and one thing to really keep in mind with all these insiders is a lot of time they're doing this for the long term.
Yeah, exactly. I knew that, and that's why I mentioned at the beginning, Moskovitz is he won't get hurt too bad if it goes down, because he'll just keep holding it. But
yeah,
like in Pelosi's case, she's getting a lot of these options that expire in like a year or so. Like especially regarding like Matterport, Unity, stocks like that. I'm just like really curious to see how these ones end up playing out, Mike, because I hope they go up, but I mean, at this point, I'm not sure if they can go up at the pace needed at this point to recover fast enough. But I mean, we'll have to see. I can't remember the exact strike Pelosi had, but yeah, they're in for the long term. And I'm hoping that a lot of these stocks start recovering, Mike. Whether it's Asana, Unity, Matterport, anything that's growth lately just keeps going down. Even like Zoom, Mike. Like Zoom just continues. Look at this today. Zoom posted a new low down to 104. Like, can it get any worse? Almost. Like, I just am really like waiting for these stocks to go up, and obviously continuing to buy in here on the dip. So I'm just really waiting for a nice pop, Mike, and I'm hoping that some of these insiders are right. Like I hope that Pelosi's Unity position starts flying, because in that case, then that would mean that, like, the metaverse plays were doing pretty good. So I'm hoping it happens, but yeah, it's weird to see them all going down lately, especially in Pelosi's case. Moskowitz's case is a little bit different, but yeah, like with Pelosi, I'm just sitting there like, Mike, like, how could she buy all three of these stocks and then they all fly down like that? Maybe she actually got caught off guard with the Russia stuff. That would be like you would think she would know something, but maybe she didn't.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. I think for Roblox, I think she had the 100 strike calls for January 20th of 2023. Pretty sure that was her strike price, and she bought that, I believe, in December, and that has not been working too well. But yeah, I mean, I definitely know where you're coming from, Tom. Like, a lot of times in the past, she just crushes it. But then again, we are still pretty early. It's just she would need one giant recovery to come back from some of these plays. Like the 100 strike is pretty far.
Yeah, that is all the way up there, Mike. I mean, we haven't been at $100 since all the way back on like January 4th. So yeah, that's going to make for a pretty big rise, and we're at $40 now. So yeah, I mean, she's going to need a nice pop back up out of Roblox, even the other stocks. But yeah, it's so weird to see her get in, and then the stocks just tank off to the downside. You would have thought maybe she would have known something, but who knows? Maybe she does know something for the future, like you mentioned. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see these stocks down, and even like these China plays, Mike. Like today, like look at poor Baba down to $92. I know we hit on this one a little bit ago, but it seems like it just keeps falling down here. It's just slowly staggering lower, almost down to 92.11 at the low. Like, man, these poor China plays just keep moving down. And I know JD had earnings this morning, which really accelerated the sell-off here.
Yep. All right. We have Oliver saying, what's a good potash ticker? Popular news tab. Russia temporarily suspended export of fertilizers. So we have IPI, we have MOS, and then we have NTR. These are like the three most popular from what I've seen, and they have like the best options chains from what I've seen so far. But yeah, I mean, these ones have clearly been exploding over like the past couple weeks, so check them out.
Yeah, these things are flying up, Mike. NTR is up 5%. IPI is really breaking out above highs here, up 10.4% today. It's getting explosive, Mike, and I'm not sure how much it's going to continue up today. It might not be necessarily a good trade right now, but man, I mean, it's flying. It's almost up. Well, it just touched $84 there. I know that MOS has been pretty popular, like you mentioned. They're also flying up 7%. So these stocks are really starting to move, Mike. And I know I just keep seeing more news come out about like Russia suspending different exports, or the U.S. banning imports, or even like Europe banning imports. So we've been seeing so much news regarding stuff like this that, I mean, these stocks are definitely good to keep on the radar, and I feel like they're definitely good candidates for quick in and out day trades, especially right now with all this volatility. I think it makes for some pretty nice moves. As we can see, over the past few trading days, these stocks have had some pretty explosive moves, at least for a few hours there while they did play out.
There we go. All right, we have Rick saying Lucid CEO dumps 8 million shares, guys. So I was trying to find the source for this one. I looked on Finviz, Open Insider, and the Thinkorswim News tab, and I couldn't find anything that said that. But so yeah, Rick, if you could share the article or something, that'd be awesome. But if that is true, yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I'm curious if it was if he was also exercising options. So sometimes with these CEOs and directors and these big executives, they a lot of times get a lot of their compensation in stock options, and then when they get those stock options, they have to pay taxes on them. So sometimes in turn, they sell some of their shares to cover the taxes. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. But it just depends on the situation. So we will take a look at that further when we have more information. But Tom, on a different note, it looks like we are seeing a ton of selling pressure today. Lots of stocks are in the red by a decent amount. NEO's down almost 10%. Queb is down 9%. Baba's getting smacked. Zoom, Enphase, AI, a lot of them are down.
Man, I'm sad to see all of them falling off this much. I know that over the past few days, some of these plays like Neo were starting to look pretty explosive, especially yesterday. But man, oh man, did they fall off today. I mean, they pretty much gave all the gains back and then some. They're almost to the closing price of Tuesday at this point. So it's definitely not good to see that, Mike. You never like to see stuff like that. That's always a bad thing to see these stocks dropping this much. And yeah, poor Lucid here, down 5%. All these EV plays are just pulling back in a major way. So, that's obviously not good news. Like you mentioned, the other growth plays are down too. So we can't necessarily blame the EVs here. But yeah, I mean, Roblox is down. Even good old Rivian, Mike, even they're selling off into earnings tonight. And, I know Rivian with earnings is going to probably be pretty big. I know they've been talked about a lot lately with their production and stuff like that. And I can't wait to see the numbers with this one, to be honest. Like, I know that last time Lucid reported, they had such bad numbers that it almost made me sick. So I'm hoping that Rivian comes out with better numbers here. And if it's anything close to Lucid's, I'm not going to be too excited.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. I mean, the only stock I see that's like really moving up right now is Chevron. This one is up around like 3.3%. This one has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 10 green days in a row.
Yeah, this one's getting insane. I know yesterday it pulled back a little bit, but that candle still ended up green there on the daily. But yeah, I mean, it's flying up. Who knows how much this one's going to go up to, Mike? I know these oil companies are going insane. Chevron's been moving up in a major way, while Exxon, for example, is just kind of like lagging behind today. And it looks like Oxy's doing better than Exxon is. It kind of is moving up like Chevron, but it's trying to break out right now. Honestly, Oxy looks like a pretty good candidate for like a quick in and out play if it does end up running, especially with Chevron up. But yeah, you're right. Chevron is really outperforming the other ones, Mike, which is crazy to see. But yeah, I mean, they're up 4%, which is nice. And some of these safer plays are doing well today as well. Like I see Caterpillar today's up 2.5%. We have Walmart moving back to the upside, and even stocks like Netflix today are moving up, and even some of the airlines, Mike, like Southwest is moving up in a good way. So we are seeing some stocks move up, which is good, but it's just crazy to see how like Chevron's really outperforming those other oil stocks. I wonder if they had like some company specific news or anything.
True. Yeah, let me pull it up. Chevron.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on Thinkorswim at least. But
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, those are the main plays right now. Another one that's moving up in a good way is CrowdStrike, CRWD. This one is up almost 14%, and they had some pretty good earnings. And Tom, it looks like they're getting right back to that resistance level, right at 195.
Yeah, they are. They are really close to that, and they are getting pretty explosive here. They started to pull back at market open, but they recovered right back up. Definitely approaching that big resistance there. So keep this one on the radar. It might be pretty good if it keeps going. And with the way the IV dipped after earnings, Mike, the options might not actually be priced too bad. So we'll have to eye this one up later.
Yep. Tom, I saw you snooping at Boeing's chart. What's going on there?
Yeah, I saw them going up. Since we saw Southwest Airlines going up, I figured might as well check in on Boeing. And yeah, they are coming back up in a nice way today. They're up 1.5%. Boeing's been on a nice uptrend the past couple days, so I really hope to see this one continue. They've been getting beaten down, to say the least, Mike. Like, we fell below $200 and ran all the way down to 167 at the low there. I've been really eyeing up a position on Boeing for the longer term, especially with all the war stuff going on. I know that Boeing hasn't been moving much with any of the war news, but at least it's at a nice discount. So that's the main thing there. And if we do see the overall airline industry do better, Boeing should start to rise. But yeah, today, I mean, it's having some nice explosive movement. It's getting close to those highs of yesterday. So that'll be a good resistance to watch there around like 182.75.
Yeah, I can't believe Boeing fell that much. Like, I knew it was bad, but I didn't think it was like 163 bad. Like, or yeah, I mean, it was at 163 lows in what was that, pre-market, after hours? Yeah, just a couple days ago. Like, that's terrible.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that got really low. I can't believe how low it got. And to be honest, the recovery back up was pretty big. You know, like we fell down in after hours that day, down to that low of 163, like you mentioned. And then by the time we closed, well, at the high of the very next day, we already ran back up 10%. And where we're sitting now, we're up like 11%. So, yeah, I mean, it's even recovered up pretty good. And I would say, if, you know, like if we recover back up towards $200 or so, that's going to be like a nice like 22% pop out of Boeing in just like a couple weeks. So yeah, it's definitely having some nice volatile movement. And I feel like it's not just even Boeing, Mike. Like these other airlines are in similar setups. Like AAL has just been falling off the table too.
Yeah, true that. We have Trading Lifestyle saying Oxy has low volume today and it doesn't have the same intensity as yesterday. I believe Buffett sold out. I really do not think that happened. I don't think Buffett has ever made a trade that quickly. Like, Buffett is not someone to day trade, like, ever. So, I really don't think that happened, but anything's possible.
Yeah, I don't think it happened either. And if we look at like Oxy on the chart here, on the daily, it still looks pretty explosive. Like, I think that there's still a chance for Oxy to keep going. And even today, I know that there's not a lot of volume coming in, but in the end, though, I feel like it's holding up very, very well, and we're honestly sitting right on resistance. I'm actually going to draw this one out because it's looking pretty defined, Mike, with how much consolidation we've had, like right around this trend line here, so or like right around this resistance. So definitely keep it on the radar. I feel like that if we do see crude oil keep going up today, which right now it's starting to dip back down, but if we do see it start to rise back, I think Oxy will have a pretty good shot to go up. It looks like to me, Mike, it's setting up in a bullish way anyways. So even if oil doesn't go up, it seems like Oxy is still holding up well. So I'm glad to see that. And like I mentioned, Mike, like crude oil is dipping down today, but Oxy's holding its ground in a good way. So I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point.
It's actually running right now. It actually just broke. So I wonder how far it's going to go. I'm not trying to, say anything about Lifestyle's position on it or anything, but it's definitely starting to break.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it's right at that high of day. So we will see. Peter also said, how about PG as a potential buy? Procter & Gamble is one of those like slow and steady stocks. It has done very well over the past. It's one of those value plays. Like, a lot of times it doesn't move with the market too much. Like, it's just like one of those value plays, like it's been very stagnant. I mean, steady, you can say. Like, it's just not like a Tesla or like an Apple or anything like that. It's nice if you want to hold it for the long term. For the short term, it's really tough to like day trade because it just doesn't really move too much.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one for it because, yeah, it doesn't move a lot. Like you can see, you can catch some big moves with it, but I've noticed, Mike, that these value plays, sometimes they just move strange. Like Procter & Gamble, it likes to move a lot like at market open. So I don't think it's the best for day trades, but I will say for the longer term, I like Procter & Gamble as long as you buy it at the right time. If we look at the max weekly chart, it's done pretty well since the early 2000s, just going up nice and steady, like Mike said. I kind of tried to compare it to Walmart. I think it's pretty similar in their chart pattern here and just how steady they've been. So I do like it for the long term. It's just, to me, I'm not sure that right now is the best time to buy, but I will say you're getting it off the all-time high by quite a bit. So it might not be a bad time to start averaging in.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, for a long-term hold, it should be fine.
I love holding plays like this for the long term, Mike, especially in markets like this. I mean, I know Procter & Gamble has been dipping down a little bit, but I really like holding stocks like this because it allows you to diversify your portfolio. You can always have, like, I love stocks like DraftKings and stuff, but you have to mix in some safer ones or else sometimes you can get caught out in the open.
Yeah, that's very true. Like, check out Caterpillar, Tom. This is another one of those slow and steady stocks. Over the past couple weeks, it has been booming to the upside. In some ways, it's kind of like Procter & Gamble, not necessarily in the industry or sector, but more so the type of stock that it is, just like a value type play. And as you can see, in a time where a lot of other stocks are falling, Caterpillar is doing decent.
Yeah, they're doing quite well, and they're in that construction sector. And I know there's been lots of talk about that sector doing well with all of these bills going through like the Senate and the House and everything like that. I know it different like infrastructure bills and stuff over the past couple of years have helped them out a little bit. So yeah, it's definitely nice to see them up, Mike. And honestly, like a lot of these value plays have been honestly like the stocks to trade lately. Like Caterpillar, like you mentioned, the past few weeks has been booming. We can go look at slower movers like KO. I know they've been falling off for the past like 5 trading days, but generally for the past few months, they've been holding up very, very well. And they were even making new highs right before they fell off. So yeah, a lot of these safer movers have been moving up in some nice ways. And, even like looking at Pepsi, Target, Walmart, like I know Walmart hasn't been the best, but you can see it's been ripping up even over the past few weeks.
Yep. All right. And then we have Rick saying, I wonder how the Russia export ban will affect Boeing, though. Yeah, I'm curious. It's definitely something worth looking into. I would imagine it wouldn't be terrible considering the stock movement, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be too bad at all. And let me know in the comments what you mean by your question, because I will say, like with Boeing, are you talking about hurting like their exports to Russia as far as like Boeing sending Russia planes? Because I'm not sure that they do that. I'll definitely have to look into that. They might send those like 737s or something like that, but I'm not too sure. I haven't looked into how much Boeing deals with Russia or not, but I wouldn't think it would affect them too much either. And Mike, kind of like what we talked about earlier, McDonald's shut down 850 stores temporarily, and it's going to cost them $50 million a month. And, you might think, $50 million a month is terrible. But, to a stock like McDonald's, I mean, all they have to do is raise the price of their double cheeseburger by 10 cents and they make up for that. So it's not like, like they have a lot of ways they can make an extra 50 million a month, to be honest.
Yeah. Yep. We have Carlos saying, what are your thoughts on the April 8th Bank of America 43 strike call? It's at 104. So let's see. I said 43 strike, April 8th. Let's see. So it's around 30 days out. So I want to check something. 43 strike call. Well, here, let me just check one more thing. Let's see. So the market makers right now are pricing in around like a 32% move or a 32% chance of Bank of America closing above 43 on April 8th. So that's a pretty low probability. I will say the movement for Bank of America looks pretty good right now. And something important to keep in mind specific to bank stocks is we have that FOMC meeting next week. So if rates rise more than everyone was expecting, that can be good for bank stocks. So we will see with that. I don't mind the play direction-wise. I'm just a little bit concerned on the strike. So, I honestly just think at that point you might as well just take that $100 and buy shares. I know it's not going to give you the same return, but then your break even will be at 41.08 rather than 44. Because that's the thing. If you buy the 43 strike call for $100, your break even's not even until $44. And that's, it's pretty far out there.
And to be honest, by April, I feel like that's a pretty close strike. Yeah. But, with everything going on, it's just, these banks are so volatile that we don't know, if banks are going to fly up. We don't know if they're going to come down. And we've also been hearing, Mike, there is some uncertainty with the banks and with rates right now, because while the market is pricing in a for sure rate hike of 0.25%, I know that we've heard stuff lately, Mike, where obviously the Russia situation might make the Feds change their mind. Now, I know Powell spoke a little bit last week, and he talked about that he didn't quite know yet to the extent that Russia would affect the Fed's decision to raise rates. So we'll have to see what comes out of it, because there is always some uncertainty here. Obviously, with this Russia situation causing the market to go down. If the market would have kept ripping, I think they would have started raising rates already. But with the way the market dipped down, Mike, I feel like that the Feds might, I'm not saying that they're going to have a 0% increase or they're just not going to increase anything, but I feel like it's definitely going to be talked about, the Russia situation, and they might not raise rates as quick as they were going to, and that might hurt the markets, but we'll have to see what they talk about, because there's so many hypotheticals and, different, outlooks on the situation, but there is some uncertainty with this.
Yeah, no doubt. So just a recap, Carlos, I feel like the direction you're going in is good. I just don't feel that the 43 strike call for April is the right tool to play that type of move, because, you're going to risk $100 and you will only profit $100 if at the expiration date Bank of America is at 45. Think about that. Strike's 43, you're paying $100 for it, so your break even's at 44. You're risking 100. You don't, in order to make 100, you need it at 45. So I just feel like it's you can get a better return on risk by investing in shares. But
yeah, I think that would be better too. Like shares are really underlooked, in the market. I feel like, especially lately, like everyone's into options, of course, and options are great. I love options, and especially selling options. But for buying them like in the short term like this, I know that's not necessarily short term, but buying them when they're cheap like that isn't the best. Like if it would be better if he would get like the 39 strike or even like the 38 strike. And I know that even those strikes like aren't too expensive, Mike. What did he say the expiration was? April 14th?
April 8th.
April 8th. So if he's looking at April 8th and you get like the 39 strike, it's going to cost you like, $325. You could get the 40 strike for, maybe like $260, $270 right now. And honestly, that's not too much more than $100. And I feel like you're taking off enough risk that it might be a little bit better of a position, but it's still going to be kind of risky. Obviously Bank of America can go anywhere, but I feel like if you're getting the strike down here around 40, it's a lot better, because if we look at the daily chart, Mike, of Bank of America, you said he'd have to get to 45 by expiration, right?
Well, his strike's 43, but he's paying 100 for it. So at 45, that's where you would make $100. Break even's at 44.
Okay, so break even's at 44, and even to 44, that's a pretty big move to the upside. Like if we look at the daily chart here, Bank of America is going to have one heck of a recovery up over the next couple weeks to get there. So even just like on a charting standpoint, that would be a pretty big recovery, especially back up to 45. That's a lot higher up there. So yeah, and that's also approaching a lot of resistance. And I don't expect to see Bank of America just shoot straight up. It'll probably be pretty volatile.
Yep, exactly. All right, so let's see. Tom, I just saw AMD. This thing is getting destroyed right now. It's down almost 5%, and it's right at that low of day.
Yeah, it's continuing to go lower. It broke that resistance from earlier in the morning around 107, just went right below it. Like I mentioned earlier, Mike, we might be able to get down to 104 today if the selling pressure continues, but we'll have to see. I mean, it's already getting pretty explosive to the downside, down 5%. I hope we can get back down to that support at 104, but who knows? I know that it looks like we are actually bouncing at like a bit of an intraday support, Mike. There is some levels at like 105.40. We definitely bounced there in the middle of the day on Tuesday. So this is honestly a bit of a support too. So maybe if we break below 105.40, you could play that move down to 104. But to be honest, Mike, like AMD's already down 5%. How much lower do we think this one can go today? I mean, if it gets down to 104, I'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah. All right. We have Raymond saying, looking for an entry point to day trade NIO in CPNG. So NIO, this one's down 10% today, Tom, and I feel like it's a pretty similar setup to AMD. Like, yeah, it's down basically 10%. How much lower do you think it can go? So to me, I'm seeing like a pretty big support right at 18.
Yeah, I am too. There's a big one right around there. We've had a ton of bounces right around $18. And yeah, we're even seeing a bit of an intraday bounce today. I don't know if maybe he's looking for like a quick day trade, like back to the upside. Maybe that's what he's looking for. If that's the case, I feel like that would be the way to go here, given that it's down 10%. But at the same time, a lot of times these stocks might continue. To me, I would almost say NIO is just a no play right now, given that it's right around this support. Maybe if you see it like break below 18 and then maybe break below 1750, it could make for a good play down. But we're all, like Mike said, we're already down 10%. Like, how much lower do we think it could really go here? And it could go lower, but I just don't think that it's the best to play it. Almost like yesterday, Mike. Like, look, Neo was up almost like 10 or 12%, and I know a lot of people were still bullish on it, but it was almost like, well, how much higher could it really go at that point? It had such a nice rip to the upside, and of course today we opened all the way back down below 1950. So I'm sure that made a lot of traders angry from yesterday.
Yep. All right, and then CPNG. What are you thinking with that one?
CPNG, I've been hearing about this one a lot lately. I don't really follow this stock too much, but I have been hearing about it a ton. Looking at it on the intraday chart here, Mike, it looks like there's a bit of support that we're actually at, like right around $19. I think this could be a pretty good play. As long as you see a nice bounce back to the upside with this, I'd like it. It's down 16%, so it's hard to play. It's kind of like Neo. Honestly, it's not my favorite. I would say it's another no play. We're down 16%. We're hovering right around support. Maybe if you see it fall below this, you could play it, but with us being down 16%, I just don't like it too much, Mike. Like, even if it does go lower, like, what are we going to expect? This one to go down 25%? So to me, it's another no play. I just think it's down a little bit too much. But I will say, Mike, like, there's a lot of nice setups to the downside today that I've been eyeing up over the past few weeks. Like, one of my favorites, I know it's not everyone else's favorite, is Tesla, but like, look at this one. I feel like this one is a pretty good candidate to the downside, and it's not down like 5 or 10% like some of these other ones are.
True. All right. Rick is asking for some TA on ZIM, Tom. I have not looked at ZIM in a long time. Let's see. It looks like they just reported earnings. Yeah, what are you thinking with this one?
Honestly, like, look at the daily chart. They just made some new all-time highs. It doesn't look too bad, especially like in the short term. I'm not sure I like it to the upside today. To me, I'm kind of leaning off to the downside. We did have that nice move up yesterday with earnings. We have been seeing, Mike, lately a lot of earnings plays that go positive end up giving a lot of those back. So we could see that happen with ZIM. Looking at it, they posted a lower high compared to a couple days ago, so that's not good to see. And they just keep getting rejected right around $76. So to me, I would almost eye this one up to the downside, but they just had earnings. It's probably going to be pretty volatile, but that's just my opinion on it. Honestly, they haven't really had too much movement today. I feel like this one could go either way, honestly.
Alrighty. Right, so CrowdStrike's still moving up. That one is slowly trading higher each minute. It is now up almost 16%. 16% today. That's pretty big, especially on a day where a lot of other stocks are just getting destroyed.
Yeah, that's great, and they're about to break that pre-market high right now. We're actually like just now touching it. Hopefully we see a nice explosion to the upside, Mike. I know CrowdStrike had such good numbers come across. Whenever I was eyeing up this earnings report, it was one of the best earnings reports that I've seen this whole earnings season, Mike. Like, they came in with a nice EPS beat. They beat on their sales, and then they even beat on their guidance for their EPS and their revenue. So that's great to see. Their stock's flying up, and I hope it continues. It's right around that high of pre-market, and I'm hoping to see a nice explosion. And honestly, with the way it's setting up, it's not looking half bad, Mike. It's going to be hard to play because of the way the IV dipped down, but who knows? It might make for some pretty well-priced options, kind of like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. All right. And then we have Carlos saying, what are your thoughts on Palantir to the upside? So Palantir is actually looking pretty good today. It's up like 2%. It looks pretty good in my opinion.
Yeah, mine too. I think it looks pretty decent. Yesterday it had that nice pop up to that $12 resistance. Honestly, we had a pretty nice touch there. On the 5-minute candles, it came right up, touched 12, came right back down. Today, we are approaching $12 as we speak, so we'll have to see if this one can get another nice uptrend here. I'm not expecting this one to fly up too much, but I will say, we've been seeing a lot of growth stocks have some nice moves lately, like 4 to 5% moves in either direction. This one's only up like 2%, so I think this one does have some potential today. And I will say, Mike, over the past few days, I've been eyeing up Palantir in a pretty good way. I know I called this one out in the bonus setups earlier this week, and it ended up moving pretty decently. I will say we passed above this one trend line back to the upside, and honestly, ever since we really broke back out of this red line here, this stock's been pretty explosive. So maybe we will start to see a nice move up. And honestly, it even posted a nice support at like 1080.
Yep. Awesome. So we basically covered all of the top movers so far today. Yeah, I mean, we basically covered a lot of the best movers. One thing I want to cover really quickly, Tom, is check out like Square and Disney. These two stocks are coming up in a decent way. Even Penn National Gaming is looking decent. So while the market overall is struggling today, like a lot of the stocks that we look at every day are not doing too bad. Like Palantir's in the green by a nice amount, and even Zoom, like I know it's down 3%, but it's on its way back up. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not. Like a lot of these growth plays are starting to recover back. I like how you mentioned Zoom because it is starting to move back up off of those lows. And I will say, Mike, Zoom's getting pretty close to $100. And I know that should be a pretty big psychological level for them. So who knows? We might see a nice bounce back to the upside pretty soon. Hopefully it's today. You know, I'm not banking on Zoom like flying up today. I'm not expecting them to be in the positive by 3% or anything. But hey, it would be nice. You know, I hope that these growth stocks continue up. I like how you mentioned Palantir. You know, they're actually in the green by a little bit, which is nice. And even some of these other stocks like Twitter, Mike, like Twitter's been beaten down in a big way and they're recovering up, which is nice. I wonder how Facebook's looking. Yeah, even Facebook is coming back a little bit. So maybe we will see a bit of a recovery today. And if that does happen, you know, look at the SPY. Honestly, the SPY's holding up very well. It's moving off of 422. I know we mentioned that as a good support earlier, and looks like it's getting a nice pop back, actually, which is nice.
There we go. Well, Tom, do you have any final thoughts before we close out?
Yeah, I hope we see a nice continuation with the market one way or the other. You know, we're going to be approaching some big resistance if we do keep rising today. We're going to be coming right back up to that 427 level that we had a lot of issues rising above yesterday. I know 427 intraday was, it was like a seesaw yesterday there, Mike. Like, look at the 1 minute chart. We touched 427 like 8 or 10 times yesterday with the bounces off that level. We ended up moving above it and then just holding right around there all day long. So definitely eye up 427 on the SPY as we start to go up. 422 is a good support. I feel like it could make for a good day trade if it breaks out of this either way. So I think that'll make for a nice day if this continues. And hey, these airlines are moving in a great way along with some of the banks. So hopefully we keep seeing this nice recovery.
Sounds good. So before we close out, I just want to personally thank all of you for joining. Thank you so much, George, I'm Fierce, Peter, Mike, Hunter, Vicky, Michael, Gott, Kid, Oliver, Rick, and Raymond, and Carlos, and Mason. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream today. The market's not looking too bad. Hopefully this upwards movement continues. Besides that, thank you guys so much for watching.